more on the Paul Manafort trial, which starts today. It's the first stemming from Robert Mueller's probe into Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. election. While the charges have nothing to do with possible collusion by the Trump campaign, the trial could have a big impact on that investigation. So for more on what's at stake for Paul Manafort and what it means for the Mueller investigation, we're joined by CBC Washington correspondent Keith Boag. Keith, what is Manafort's strategy here? He is on trial facing life in prison. What do you think he's going to do here?
Well, every indication so far has been that he intends to fight this for as long and as hard as he can. He's actually facing charges in separate jurisdictions, Virginia and Washington, D.C., which means that he would have to win acquittal in 2 trials against a mountain of evidence. But he's evidently decided he would rather do that. He would rather spend his money and take his time fighting these charges than cooperate with the Mueller investigation and tell them what he might know about the Trump campaign's involvement with Russia. It's a gambit. It's a big risk because the evidence against him is strong. It's documentary evidence, not witness testimony. But nevertheless, that's the course he's chosen to take.
And we've seen other people, big names associated with the Mueller investigation and Donald Trump. We've seen them flip. We've seen them cooperate with Mueller, Flynn, Gates. Why not Manafort?
Well, I think there might be a misunderstanding that his chance to cooperate with Mueller ends when the trial begins. But I spoke to a former federal prosecutor yesterday who's been in this kind of cases many, many times over many, many years. And he said, look, it is a surprise that Manafort has gone this far, but it doesn't mean that he has forsaken any possibility that he might in the end cooperate with Mueller. In fact, this former prosecutor said he bets that's the way this is all going to turn out. But for the time being, perhaps Manafort sees that it's worth the candle, that why not take a chance? If the alternative is life in prison, why not face a trial and see if I can beat it in Virginia and then beat it in Washington, D.C. And if I can't, well, then maybe I'll talk to Mueller. That may be the strategy here.
Okay, well, now this case was uncovered, this case against Manafort was uncovered during the Mueller investigation, Mueller focusing on Russian meddling in the 2016 U.S. election. But the charges against Manafort don't mention Russia at all, right?
That's correct. That's correct. This is all about financial crimes, wire fraud, bank fraud, tax evasion, that sort of thing, money laundering and so on. And I think the important thing to remember about this is a very minor detail, perhaps. It's documentary evidence that they have against him. Again, it's not witness testimony. That makes it for a very strong case. It means that Mueller is or Manafort is in a position to be a very strong witness for Mueller should he decide in the end that he's not going to win this case and he might as well flip. But no, this case doesn't have anything to do with Russian collusion yet. But of course, Manafort was Trump's campaign manager for a while. He was in that Trump Tower meeting that we really don't know what happened there when Donald Trump Jr. and Manafort and others with the campaign met with Russians during the election campaign. He knows all of that stuff, and that's what Mueller wants to get out of him. So that's what this trial is really about. It's about putting the squeeze on Paul Manafort to let him know that the case against him is really strong, that if he is convicted, he's going to prison for the rest of his life, and that his one chance to see his grandkids grow up might be to cooperate, or will be to cooperate with the Mueller investigation.
So is anyone expecting him to take the stand?
I don't think so. I think that would be unusual in this case. It's hard to know what their defense is going to be. I can't stress often enough that documentary evidence is a hard thing to fight in court. I mean, if the evidence is that he received this amount of money and that he paid this amount of tax on it, or no tax on it, or not as much as he should on it, it's hard to refute that kind of thing when it's all written down on notarized paper that people are going to testify is a true and accurate account of the way that the Manafort managed his finances. That's a tough case to beat.
All right, Keith, thanks so much.
Thank you, Rashmi.